professional who uses their own reproductive material to create a pregnancy with a patient without their consent. So this had been an area where the law had not been sufficiently clear, and Representative Rich and Representative Tipper and Senator Gardner and other members of the legislature who were with them really helped to create a law that respects the deeply personal nature of fertility medicine. Because anybody who seeks fertility treatment without saying should deserve to feel completely secure in the help from a medical professional without having to worry about this kind of outrageous, inappropriate behavior. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mesa County's own Representative Rich.
Thank you, Governor Polis, and certainly thank you for coming to Grand Junction. As the Governor mentioned, this bill creates new civil and criminal offenses to the misuse of gametes in an assisted reproduction procedure. There have been 9 known fertility fraud lawsuits in North America, and this conduct has affected lives all over the world. This is needed to protect women and men who've sought fertility treatment. And I'm so proud of Representative Tipper and Senator Gardner. This would have very strong bipartisan support, and it passed unanimously out of the House and the Senate. And I couldn't be more proud to be a part of this bill. So thank you.
It's now official. Congratulations. Yep.
For this next bill, I want to thank Representative Byrd, Representative Will, and Senator Winter. Did Representative Will come? No, his district is northwest of here. This bill is a bill that sets standards for recording plats. This essentially is a strong bipartisan bill that helps use technology to be able to make the role of setting plats more efficient. It effectively allows log plat maps to be electronically submitted. That helps local governments be more efficient, reduces the need for paper and a more cumbersome procedure, and it can enhance customer service for developers and for residents. It also will make record keeping easier and more efficient, right, and more secure as well. So I'm very excited to sign this bill. I want to thank Representative Byrd, Representative Will, and Senator Winter.
It's now official.
This bill was championed by Mesa County's own Senator Scott, along with his partner Senator Janal from Fort Collins, and Representative Gray and Representative Carver. And it's really one of the reasons that we wanted to sign this bill here. We're really excited about this bill because what it does is it turns a pilot program in automating at kiosks some of the services that are offered from the DMV into an ongoing program that can grow across Colorado, making sure that DMV can utilize technology to save people time, save people money, save people energy, and of course in this day and age also help keep people safer by allowing them to engage in these transactions without having to interact with additional people during the coronavirus pandemic. The success of the pilot program to offer motor vehicle registrations through a private provider and private partnerships has really shown that this can work. And now Senator Scott has led the way to help make sure that this is an ongoing, regular program at the Department of Revenue, expanding services at kiosks, cutting down lines at DMVs, increasing convenience, reducing cost. I want to thank Senator Scott for his leadership, and I'll turn it over to Senator Scott.
Thank you, Governor, for being here today. We appreciate you coming over to see us. We really do. This has been a fun ride for this particular bill. It started in 2016. And as you know, most of us don't hang around in this election cycle long enough to ever see something happen twice. So we actually got a chance to turn this into a permanent program. From 24 counties now to all counties have the opportunity to use this system. And it'll become much more convenient for citizens around Colorado, as you'll start to see these machines here in places like King Soopers, AAA Colorado, who's here today. It'll be really fun to have those machines pretty much everywhere that people can get to 24/7, 365 days a year. Also, some additions to the machines will be really a lot of fun because we're now going to be able to do driver's license renewals, not just license plates any longer. And at some point in the future, I think we'll actually see voter registration on these machines. And there's also going to be available at some point in the future, and I hate these masks. Don't we all? We all do. An app that'll be on your phone. So there'll be a time when we'll see that technology come forward, which the governor is very good at technology and understands that very well. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. 235,000 transactions took place on these machines in 2019. We expect that to probably triple over the next few years. And you know, the state's all about customer service. We need to be good to our customers and help our clerks, the team of Peters, and helping reduce those counter hours, which are so important for people's days. So thank you, Governor, for signing the bill today. We appreciate that, and it's been a fun journey. So thank you, sir.
Let's do it. It's official. Congratulations, Senator.
This final bill that we're going to sign here today speaks to a very important issue in rural Colorado, and that is broadband and high-speed internet access. This bill, and I want to thank Representative McCluskey, who's with us, Representative Soper, who's with us, and Senator Donovan for their work on this bill. It basically changes how the Broadband Deployment Board looks at applications and allows broadband grant applicants to be able to better apply for an area that is underserved, including in rural Colorado, because we know that in a broader sense, this is a critical part of growth of jobs in rural Colorado. And I should say earlier today, we signed the Rural Jumpstart Program. Representative McCluskey was there, and Senator Scott also worked hard on that bill, as did Representative Ridge. We signed that into law earlier today. But you know what? For our rural economies to succeed, internet connectivity is so important, so important. And it's not just, you know, people think, oh, is it about watching, you know, Netflix or Amazon? It's about a lot more than that. It's about telecommuting. It's about giving rural businesses the connectivity they need to compete in a rural economy. It's about a lifeline for first responders. It's about access to healthcare through telemedicine. So it's really about so many things. And we've been glad to do our part to move the ball down the field to get Colorado closer to 100% connectivity, including through Department of Regulatory Affairs, DORA. We've committed over $19 million since 2016 for last mile infrastructure. DOLA, Department of Local Affairs, is spending $5 million per year for the next 5 years for what we call middle mile infrastructure. And we're also working with local electric co-ops. Representative Soper's co-op down in the Montrose area is one of the leaders in the state, Delta Montrose, in connectivity. And I'm really excited that this bill is a complementary and important piece of that puzzle. It makes it easier for underserved areas, and especially rural areas, to simply access the grants that already exist. And together we can make sure that rural Colorado thrives, and internet connectivity is an important part of that. And I'll turn it over to Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Governor. We certainly appreciate your support of an issue that is so important to those of us who live out here on the western slope. I have lived in Summit County now for the last 20 years, and having connection, whether it's rural broadband or that service when I'm driving on the highway, can be a real challenge. When we were approached by DMEA Elevate to talk more about how our communities, our counties, our cities, our towns could have a seat at the table, allow their voices to be heard about the areas that are considered unserved or underserved, we jumped at the chance to stand up for them and for all of rural Colorado to make sure that our smaller communities, those under populations of 7,500,
were given the right kind of emphasis, consideration, when they put a grant application before the Broadband Deployment Board. I am so proud this bill got across the finish line, particularly in our condensed time frame this year for session. I really want to thank those who worked with us out in the field, DMEA and Elevate, and particularly Representative Soper, who was a wonderful ally to me in raising up the concerns and the needs for those who don't have internet broadband service at home. I also want to mention that the pandemic has really highlighted for many of us the importance of broadband access for our kids during remote and distance learning challenges. I anticipate over the course of the next year that I'll be fighting just as hard as we did for this bill for others so that our kids out in rural Colorado continue to have access to service and to a great world-class public education. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you, Governor, for your support.
Thank you, Representative McCloskey, and thank you, Governor, for coming out here to sign this. Rural broadband is something that's been near and dear to my heart for many years, mainly because it's been my own personal frustration of trying to get online or not having the speed that I expect. I was up in Colburn, which is in my district, and one thing that they highlighted to me is that if we're going to have telehealth, which was signed earlier today, grant more access, then we also need to have more rural broadband and more access to the World Wide Web in places that are very remote. And one thing they said that stood out in my head was when kids came and started doing their work from home, they could see the bandwidth immediately drop because they were all trying to be online at the same time. So what this bill does is it gives our local government much more of a voice to be able to say this area is unserved. And I see a couple of commissioners. I just want to thank Commissioner Puglisi, Commissioner Justman for being here, because after it's signed, it's time for you guys to go to work. So thank you.
All right. It's official. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Thank you,
Representative.
Governor.
Thank you for hosting us in Mesa County. Thanks to the commissioners. See, there's a little party out there for your clerk. But thank you so much for all your great work. And we're excited to make this law right here in Mesa County.